Welcome in. Guys, I'm so sorry for the delay. My laptop decided to crash the second I was about to stream. So hopefully things are going to run a lot more smoothly tonight, okay? How is everybody doing this lovely evening? We have a special one for you guys tonight. We have AceSpace versus Anthony Gramuglia. Who will win in in the Thunderdome of ideas, okay? There's quite a few donations. I will be reading the ones that have come in now. But until the end of the debate, I will read stuff at the end, okay, guys? But I do greatly appreciate it. So I will quickly get these through, and then we can get right into the conversation, okay? Thank you very much, Neverless, for being a member for 2 months. Acknowledge me first when stream starts, and I'll give you many monsters. Hell yes. Hello, Neverless. Thank you very much, Gilla the Bloodspiller, for the $10 US. I do not fuck with Anthony Gramuglia. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Metalman, for the 5 gifted members. 07s to Metalman, everybody. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Platinum Amex, for the $2 US. Loser buys the chat dinner. True. Hello, C Vance. Happy birthday. Thank you for the $5 US. Come on, Ace. I have money on the line. You big dogs gotta eat. Bruh. Thank you very much, C Vance. Thank you very much, Francis, for the $5 US. Make sure to tip your favorite streamer when they give us Kino. So true. Okay, guys, we're gonna get into this. AceSpace has had a few different disagreements with Anthony Gramuglia in the past, and I thought I would try and get this settled. Okay, we're gonna get this done. I believe we're gonna plan to have this debate last maximum about an hour because of everyone's schedule. Okay, everyone's schedule. What prompted this? What was the prompt? Basically a few different takes Anthony has had, one in his most recent video. From my understanding, it's a few different things that have happened that Ace has a disagreement with Anthony on. So we're going to get this settled. I'm going to quickly change not to that stream, to this stream. Oh my god, look at this. Isn't this awesome? Wow, it's like I set this up for in 5 seconds. And for some reason, chat's not working. Let me quickly get this fixed. Fix that right now. As you can tell, I'm in a bit of a rush tonight. We're going to very quickly get this set up, and then we're going to get everyone introduced. Does that sound good? That sounds good. Speed running streaming. There we go. There, that's perfect. Doesn't that look good, chat? And then we're going to grab this, and then we're going to go ahead and grab this, and then we're going to get right into it, okay? Goodness me. I'm such a pro streamer. There he is, and he's facing the wrong way, but you know what? We'll switch these around because I'm gonna get annoyed by this. Yep. Pro streaming. Look at this, guys. Pro streaming. Doesn't this look so professional? Okay. Awesome. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and introduce the contestants, okay? If for some reason chat decides to work. Okay. Should start working soon. If not, then we're going to suffer. Anyways, let me undeafen.
Talking to him. It's just confusing. Oh, hello there. Hello.
You are live. Welcome in.
Good. Did you? By the way, you switched off to live before we shared our social security numbers, right?
Yeah. Maybe.
Fuck. Okay.
Maybe.
Gotta go call the government.
So yeah, and we hash it out. It's all over. Okay,
let me end the stream.
Yeah,
okay,
no.
Yeah, got it.
No, we're so close now. We can share credit cards with each other and baby photos. It's great. No.
Oh wow. Jesus. I didn't know Ace was pregnant, but okay. Awesome.
No.
So, you guys have had a few different disagreements over a load of different topics, and I think it's best if we just lead with your first issue, Ace, because it appears there's quite a little list. So.
No, yeah, I'll full up front on this one. You're going to lead the discussion with your questions because I really have no strong. Feelings in any direction. So you go first.
Yeah, so just to kind of get this out of the way, because this is just something that was directly between us for sure. I'll post some of the let me get to the screenshots real quick. So we had a back and forth in the community post, and this is just gonna be the first thing I think it's fair to open up with. So a little while ago, I did a stream on the Blackish getting his channel terminated. Now to be very clear, not accusing you of terminating him, right? I didn't end that stream either. So that was a problem that I had, because in that stream, I do read it out for what he's saying for his thing, but then I disagreed with it in the moment and even provided an alternative. I actually would think that it's more the Vivi's Pop audience that struck his channel down, not you.
Yeah,
And
they were going pretty intense on Twitter when that was going on. I noticed. Like I was like, oh yeah, what's going on? Because I don't really keep up with anything Blackish was posting. So everything I knew about Blackish was what other people told me about, essentially. So Blackish did a video saying, "Oh, I hope these guys die, whatever," in Minecraft. I didn't see it till someone else told me, "Hey, Blackish just wanted you to die." I'm like, "What are you talking about? Like, what?" So I found out about Blackish doing a video on me ahead of the time. Actually, I knew about it,
Right.
but my plan was actually to do a reaction video. I was actually upset Blackish's channel got terminated. I'm like, damn, that's content I could have made. I could have done something with that. So, there we go on that front. But yeah, no. So I cut you off there. I'm so sorry.
No, I mean, like, the issue I would have with it is because you're saying that I spread the rumor.
Yeah, so that one's a complicated one. So I think I could have phrased what I was trying to say better here initially. I think my follow-up, I think is more clear on it. I feel like on your stream you did present the accusation Blackish had made. And while you did say you didn't feel there was particularly I think I'm trying to remember the exact phrasing on your stream. I think you were saying something to the effect of like, there's no evidence for this, but here's what he said. That did spread the rumor. You didn't say it. I want to make that clear. You didn't say it, but you did put that story out into the ether. That might not have been as wide a population as before. And then people just responded to it, and I had to argue with people online about it.
Well, I also
your fault, but
Sure, because I would also have like only just a little bit more of an issue because with Blackish, right? Sure, he does does the whole thing with these screenshots here, but even in like the second screenshot, which I did go over these on stream, they were in my Blackish docket. In the last paragraph, he says, "Is it 100% foolproof? No. Am I going to act like it is because it's funnier to think this guy saw that thumbnail and reported me? Yes." Now I take that as even he's not seriously accusing you.
Yeah, but the problem is people take it seriously. I think like half the people who respond don't believe it either, which is just the nature of the internet. But it is something that then I have to disentangle. I mean, like, not because necessarily. Again, let me take a step back before I put my foot in my mouth.
Mm-hmm.
In general, online, people say bullshit. Most people don't buy it. Everyone kind of knows. I've been people in my comments posting bullshit for years, and most people don't really give a shit. But when it's something when it involves taking a channel down, that's something that requires a response. I mean, like if someone is, even if in jest, saying, "Hey, you took this channel down," people could believe that.
I mean,
so that requires me to make some type of confirmation that wasn't the case.
I would disagree only because, look, I'll give you some fair ground here. I'll say with Blackish here, right? He shouldn't have said this, right? I could say that this is extremely reckless. This was inaccurate. He had no evidence. He shouldn't even said that, even if it was to jest. But he does make it clear that he was jesting, and I think that if anyone did give you an actual problem about it, it would just be better off personally, in my opinion, just ignore it rather than, say, "Yeah, no, I didn't do it." See?
It depends on
to suggest.
It depends on who. It depends on who, I think, or how many. I try not to respond to bullshit for most of the time, but this was one thing I responded to just because, I'm not sure how familiar you are with my channel's history. When I was first starting off, I got like multiple false DMCA copyright strikes placed against me. I think it was like 5.
Lily stuff, right?
For Lily Orchard, exactly. So when it comes to DMCA or mass reporting, I take that very seriously. So that's one thing I took very seriously in response. But if it was some bullshit, like someone saying like I've gotten people who spam like all sorts of bullshit in my comments, and I just ignore it for the most part. But that's one thing I take seriously, only because I know from firsthand experience what it's like dealing with that. So it's one of those things where you're like, well, okay, hang on here. If I saw someone doing that, even if it was a joke, I'd be like, well, what the fuck's going on here, buddy? Like that was the thing with I know you're gonna ask about Noah in a bit, but that was the one thing with Noah where immediately no questions asked. I'm like, oh, fuck this guy. When you see someone taking an account down, abusing the YouTube system just to silence someone, that to me is no. Unless they do something extremely dangerous, like doxing someone who is, vulnerable. That's different, and that would require a report, not a DMCA. Which, as most people online know, never works. I guess in Blackish's case, I guess that was the 1 out of 100 times it worked. But yeah, no. So that one I take seriously in terms of response. But yeah, so there you go.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong on this, because this one's just going off of pure memory, but I swear there was a time where, didn't you accuse Lio of getting Slug's channel taken down? And there was nothing to back that up?
I don't remember that, actually. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Because I know that there was a whole thing with, it was talking about some Muslim culture, I believe, right?
Wait, what? So I can take a step back. What are you talking? What was that one?
Yeah, so there was I believe a clip where Lio and Slug were talking about the Muslim religion or whatever.
Yeah, I have no memory of this. It's possible, but I don't recall it.
I mean,
and it could be well, here's a question also. Because you seem a better memory. Was I saying it directly, or was I saying someone else suggested and I was just echoing that?
I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, because I can see someone else saying it, and I just retweeted it or said, "Oh yeah, this is a thing that happened," apparently, or questioning it. But I don't think I directly started that rumor because I don't recall it.
I don't remember if you started it, but I believe that Slug even had to tell you it wasn't true.
If Slug's okay, wait a second. So it sounds like what you're saying is someone else said it. I retweeted it. Slug said, "Hey, this isn't true," and then I said it wasn't true in response afterwards. Is that right?
Sure.
Okay. Then what's the problem? I was told misinformation. I was confirmed the information was wrong, and I made a retraction.
Well, I mean, I think the problem I would have, right, is that would be going off of a situation with no evidence to suggest the conclusion, and you would have supported that was.
I would have to see my exact phrasing to say that, because it could be something as simple as this could be the case. If I'm talking in possibilities, then I'm not saying it did happen. I'm saying it sounds like it might have happened, which is a totally different statement than saying this did happen. Or if I'm saying, did this really happen? And kind of incredulous, really, this is what's going on? Different story also. But again, I really would have to see the exact phrasing because I'm going off of memory, and I don't remember it. So
sure. And I think that, and I think that is an interesting thing to build off of because, right, I don't disagree with providing possibilities, right? But it does seem like some of our back and forth and some of your back and forth of Remnant and others where people say, I'm not saying it's Anthony, but it is a possibility, right? That seems to be the thing that they've done too, right?
Yes, but the question is also, it's important to note here, what is the exact phrasing and exact context? I'd have to see the comment you're talking about to respond to it. I really would have to see it because I can't speak to the specifics of a statement I can't personally remember.
Fair enough.
I can say with Remnant's video specifically, where he's teasing something happening, that's a pattern of behavior. He does that a lot. So across the few videos I've seen, he always has a suggestion of, am I saying this is the case? Well, I'm not saying it's not the case. Something like that. It's kind of hard to, that's a different pattern. With me, if you tell, and from the sounds of what you're saying, it sounds like I suggested something happened based on someone else saying it. Someone told me, hey, it didn't happen. And I'm like, you're right. It didn't happen. I apologize. Which is very different than what other people would do in those situations, potentially.
I think we'll have to circle back to this. If you manage to find the screenshots or the tweet that you're referencing, Ace, then
I really would have to see the specifics. Yeah,
no,
I'm sorry.
Fine. Yeah, I mean, we can kind of just stick on the Remnant side of it for sure, because I remember in his video, and this was the thing I kind of disagreed with your video, right? Because your conclusion was that he was framing it as guilty until proven innocent, when the overall conclusion that it seemed like the point that he was making was that you can't disprove a negative. He wasn't calling you guilty, but realistically, there's always someone that could always just say, well, even with the accounts that you've experienced, right? You showed one account and showed 3 strikes. And then the rebuttal was, well, what about the second account? You could show that. And then
what account are you talking about?
Your main YouTube account, because I remember when you were debunking this, you showed your strike history, which that makes sense for why you would go about it like that. But when you go down this line of logic with like you can't prove a negative, there's always someone that could say, well, what about the other account? Or, well, we don't know if you have only more than 2 accounts. That was more overall the point that he was making, that you can't disprove a negative, but was not
that's
saying
a
that you were
stupid
guilty.
argument. That's the problem. If you're going to accuse someone of doing something or suggest someone did do something, you have to provide evidence. You can't disprove a negative because you can't disprove a point without evidence, because there's no evidence. If you're going to make a claim, you have to provide evidence. Otherwise, it's dismissed offhand.
Which is why I would say that you shouldn't even have bothered to. I don't even think you should have stressed yourself with responding, because there was no claim with evidence in the first place, right?
Well, I think I don't necessarily agree with that necessarily, and I'll explain why. Because in order to deconstruct a rhetoric response, you sometimes have to show the emperor has no clothes. To illustrate that a response isn't worth responding, you sometimes have to deconstruct that response. And that's what I did in that situation. We looked at saying, okay, here's what he's saying. Here's what he's presenting. Here's his argument. But here's why it doesn't hold up under scrutiny and why it's not worth engaging with on that front. So by illustrating that there's no foundation to support the claim, that was in part not even a response necessarily to the point he's making, but more of a general statement that is applicable in many scenarios. You know what I'm saying? So when I make a video like that, it's not always a response. With both the original video Remnant was responding to as well as the response to Remnant, neither video is as simple, at least in terms of my direction with it, as just, oh, you're wrong and I'm right. That's boring to me. And I think it's boring to my audience. What I always try to do is I try to use this talking point, this conversation, as a launching point to an idea I think is more general, more dynamic, more interesting to me personally. So with the Remnant video, the first one, it was mostly about art. I used that video Remnant made, not so much as saying, oh, Remnant, you're stupid, this, that, and the other. Although I did say that also, it's a couple points. The real point was to discuss art, to discuss the mechanics of art and how we go about criticizing art. With the second video, it was more discussing the rhetoric devices that people will sometimes use in response to criticism and why it's not always effective. So in that sense, the ultimate point of that video wasn't necessarily, again, they were personal insults against Remnant. I think it's valid after that bit back and forth. But I think the ultimate point of that video was to illustrate why those don't work. Okay, here we go. Now we see this. Okay, I see this. Cool. Mm-hmm. Perfect.
Yes.
Okay, let's take a look at that. Yeah, so about a year ago. Okay. So it now allows such a liability that he is getting other channels destroyed because he said awful stuff on stream, ? It just seems like he's a liability at this point. Okay. So I'm naive. So again, in response to this, I'm quote tweeting someone else. Given the fact the account is banned and given the fact it's about Lio, that does narrow down who probably posted this originally.
I think it was probably Sai.
Yeah, I'm going with Sai. I'm thinking Sai, yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. That tracks. Yeah, that tracks. Okay. So yeah, that's me believing Sai, which honestly, you can call me out for that mistake more than anything else in terms of this.
Right.
Yeah, no. So looking at this, it doesn't look like I'm even accusing him of anything specific necessarily. It's more like I'm reacting to something someone else said, which you can make the argument involves me doing the very thing that I was saying that your video did. It's inspiring other people who don't know all the facts, who take it maybe we're half listening, maybe, or half paying attention, to take something very seriously and jump with a point they only half understand. And in this situation, it looks like, I'm guessing maybe she had like a screenshot or a video clip or something.
I think she had a clip, yeah.
A clip, that makes sense, yeah. So that's probably what I reacted to, and just took it at face value that was what caused it. I'm assuming Slug then probably told me, hey, buddy, this is not at all what caused the account to get closed.
Yeah, because I believe, he got his stream taken down because of some lesbian comment that he made. That's usually what he says.
Oh, okay. So there you go.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, like, there's definitely like some criticizable things you said in that, but sure, like in that tweet for sure specifically.
Yeah, but the question is, what are we criticizing? My trusting of people, other people's perspectives, not reading into a tweet too much, or am I spreading false information deliberately? Those are 3 different conversations.
Well, because like it seemed like in my scenario, I went against it and disagreed with it and provided an alternative. But in this scenario, you kind of like you don't really show any pushback. You kind of just like trust it, agree to it, and kind of put like a not saying you're saying 100% true, but you're kind of like siding with it for based off what you're seeing.
Yeah, I'm taking that face value. That's the reality of that. And who hasn't in their life read a tweet, believed it, and then moved on with their life without putting too much thought into it?
Well, right, but like if my thing is spreading a rumor, wouldn't this be like spreading the accusation as well?
Not really. The difference is a tweet is not. The difference is with a tweet that is static beyond anything else. I'm responding to a piece that already exists out there. What your situation is more like would be what's cited in the thing I'm responding to. Totally different. You're the one putting it out there. I'm the one responding to something. So the difference is if I saw your stream and then echoed what I thought the sentiment was, but like one step removed, that's where I am. You would be the thing that people would be echoing from. Does that make sense?
I understand the argument you're making. I would only respectfully disagree with the sense of like, well, this is still you making a public thing. You're putting your credibility next to it, sure, and more people that would trust you naturally. I know you're saying it's a static tweet, but like, hell, that tweet has 4,500 views. My stream had 5,000 views. I would say that there would be a similar like impact.
I would argue a view on a stream is worth 100 views of a tweet. Like when people watch a stream, they're actually paying attention. Views just means they clicked past it. You know, I can scroll past a tweet and it counts as a view.
I suppose, but I mean, I would still say this is like a public take that you're making that you would be agreeing
but it's
with
a response to. I'm sorry, I cut you off there. Yeah, but it's like a response to what someone else said. So it's not really the same thing as me putting it out there in the first place on my own.
Sure, I'll say like you didn't originate it. I didn't really originate it in the sense of like I was reading what Blackish said, but even like what Blackish said, like I said earlier, in that last paragraph, he made it very obvious that he wasn't like making it a serious accusation, which I know we kind of talked about. Like even if you jest, it's putting the idea out there. Sure,
yeah,
I could agree that like Blackish shouldn't have said that, but yeah, I feel like in my scenario, there's a lot more suggesting that you didn't do it. And it was very obvious Blackish was joking. But in this scenario, say Sai or even you, it wasn't like you were joking or jesting about Lio being a liability and taking channels down.
Yeah, but as I also said in my response to you, I don't think I'm not saying you fully formed the rumor, but you're a source of it, whether intentional or not. I'm not a source of this story. I'm responding to a story that was already made. That's the key difference.
I mean, I guess the rumor was there, but it was instantly stomped out. That's just my whole thing.
Like, yeah. Plus, the other difference is that when I was told it was wrong, as what you say, if I'm taking it at face value, I said it was wrong too. When I was given counter arguments, hey, there you go. The problem is that when I'm given information that counters what I say, I retract what I say, usually very publicly. When I would say usually, I'm not saying every time, but I'd say usually. And if it's not super publicly, it's usually in response to what's going on, or I'll retweet it or something like that, whatever it might be. And again, I'm not saying when I'm given a counter argument, I'm saying when I'm disproven. That's the key difference. You can make a counter argument all you want. I might not agree with it, if it's an opinion-based thing. But in cases like this with Remnant and the whole thing with the accounts, it's like, well, you can't disprove a negative. Well, then there's no proof. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, no, I would agree that there's no proof, but that would be the overlying point, right? Where it's like you can't disprove a negative. Like if I was to say that you can't disprove a negative, but I'm not saying you're guilty, right? I don't think that that's me saying you're guilty. I think that that's me just saying the reality of the situation.
The reality of what situation? Hang on, before I answer that question, before I respond, I want to know what you're referring to with the reality of situation there specifically.
Like with you can't disprove a negative, right? Like that is just kind of like a reality that we face in life. That no matter how much evidence you could show, there's always going to be like a what if.
No, not really. If you can't prove something, you can't prove something.
Yeah, if you can't prove something, you shouldn't show the you shouldn't, to be very clear, no one should make the allegation that you struck someone's channel.
No, I don't think you understand. I'm saying if you can't prove something and someone says, "Where's your evidence for it?" and you can't provide it in the first place, then what you said shouldn't be taken seriously.
Exactly. I agree with that.
You can illustrate from that perspective, here is why that argument is completely nonsense. That's what I did. I presented the mechanics of the argument, provided a basic counter argument, and laid it all out there.
I mean, that is.
I don't think we're talking about the same concept here. We're talking about 3 different types of scenarios, and none of them perfectly align with what we're trying to talk about here.
No, I mean, I'm still on the remnant thing, with the accusation with that, but
yeah.
I would and obviously, like you responding to it, I think that, yeah, if you do respond to it, you kind of like force yourself in a position to engage with something that you can't 100% prove as a negative. But that's why my argument would be that responding to it would be a waste of time. Because,
so let me ask you this: where are we disagreeing on this one? Because I'm trying to find what the point is with all this, because we're going in circles.
My point is, I don't even think that there was any need to even address it. Because
I disagree,
there's no evidence
because people run with. I disagree because people run with it, and that's one thing. I mostly ignore most details, like I said before. But when someone says you took down an account, it's worth proving that's not the case.
I mean, what people are you like referring to ran with it? I guess, unless you're just talking about chatters in general.
You get random people mostly. No one that really matters in the long scheme of things, but. Those kinds of stories do get around eventually. People do talk.
I mean, I think that like a thing that you did demonstrate in your video, which I don't disagree with, is like there's always going to be a group of people that no matter what you say and no matter what you respond with, they're going to just always try to find something to like poke holes into it to like, still justify disliking you, which is
life. That's life.
Yeah, no, for sure. But that's why I would just say that it's probably pointless to respond to something with no evidence. I know that, I guess if we're just going to have agree to disagree, then.
Well, the question is, here's I think where we're not seeing eye to eye on this one. Who are we making the point to? Because here's the thing. I think you're under the impression that I made this point for the sake of Remnant. And that's not what I did. I made this point for the sake of my audience, and I'm going to explain why. A lot of my channel, what we do is we take arguments and rhetoric that is not very good, usually critical rhetoric, and explain why it doesn't work. That was an example of that. Taking someone else's arguments and deconstructing it to illustrate why this argument holds no water. It's not necessarily that I cared what Remnant thought walking away from it, because you're not going to change someone's mind like that. The response video didn't exist for him. It existed for people to see, to break down the structure of the argument, to see the usual traps and rhetoric people might pull into other situations. It's more to function as an example than to function as a specific Remnant. I want you to think this specific way about this topic, because that's a fruitless venture. It's not going to work out. You can never really change someone's mind on that front when you're arguing with them. It's not really about that. Debate's not really for the sake of convincing the other side that you're right. That rarely happens. It's more for convincing the audience watching what you think. Public debate, when you go back and that's one thing too with conversations in general. Like, I don't expect to change anyone's mind specifically. That'd be a fruitless venture. But it is helpful to allow people to kind of reconsider what it is they're looking at, in general. If my video got people to think a little bit about the arguments that they're hearing, to exercise a little critical thinking in that sense, that's all I need to do. I think the problem here is you're looking for, well, didn't you say this and didn't you that? I'm like, yeah, those are different scenarios. And yeah, we can point out the flaws there. I did myself in the context that you're referencing. I pointed out the flaws of my own argument shortly thereafter when I was proven wrong.
Right.
And even in my response to you, I still illustrate, hey, you're not the one who maliciously started this rumor, but you did put it out into the air and other people ran with it. And let's also be frank, there's a difference between saying something, that someone else said and saying, oh, there's no evidence for it, so let's move on. And then someone running with that and kind of going, well, you can't prove it didn't happen. I'm like, yeah, but you have no evidence for it. So fuck it, And my whole point in my video was to go, hey, they have no evidence for it. Fuck it. And if you hammer your heels in this spot on a point with no evidence behind it, and then ramble about it for 10 minutes in a pre-recorded video, that says more about you than it does about me.
I mean, I think the disconnect that we would just only have, because I'm not saying, right, you can't respond to it. Obviously, it's your own platform. It's how you go about it. It's how you, however you want to handle it, you could, right? I just don't think that there's any necessity to, and I feel like it would be necessarily a spiraling waste of time because of people like that.
Yeah, that's fair. But again, I'm not responding to the person. I'm using.
Yeah, you're saying you're responding to your audience.
I'm using it as a piece of content ultimately, and content is king on the internet, and the content is deconstruction for the educational value for my audience. That's the thing. Sure. We're talking about this in two different ways. You're talking about it as though I expect to change Remnant's mind or try to win over Remnant's audience, which that's not really the case. All I did was just deconstruct the argument. That was the entire video in a nutshell. So I think to focus on what's the point of discussing this point and the other when I'm engaging with a whole bunch of rhetoric to illustrate why these techniques don't really work in a rebuttal, then we're looking at a piece of a puzzle when you should be looking at the whole collective thing. All the arguments I make serve the same function, illustrating why this argument or this piece of the argument doesn't function well as a rebuttal and what it says about the person making it more than anything else. So I think you're framing it as though I'm saying, hey, Remnant, you're wrong and I can prove it, which that's not really what I'm doing here. I think it's just a misunderstanding or a misevaluation of what my point ultimately was with all that.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to convince your audience or show why the argument fails, then I guess you're fully within your right to do so.
Yeah,
it's just, I'm just going to see it as I would personally see it as a waste of time. But
yeah, that's fair.
I mean, I will say, because you did mention about seeing the whole piece of the puzzle, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I got to ask, man, did you ever watch my stream going over your stuff with Remnant?
No. I said the video itself, I didn't watch any of them. I just knew from...
right, because that would be a problem I have as well. Mm-hmm. Not because if you didn't watch it just on its own, sure, whatever, fine. A problem I have with this clip specifically, right, is that you do say that you don't watch it, but then you make a statement about my coverage, along with Dickers and Hippleton's.
Yeah, in general terms, in sweeping general terms. And again, the problem is that I outright say, hey, I didn't see it. So I'm getting the vibe based on the impression of it, which here's the thing. You're going to probably say something to the effect that what you said was inaccurate because you did watch it, my video, which, hey, that's cool. But that's ultimately not what my point was about. My point was more about the impression someone gets when seeing all this at once.
Well,
which is,
I mean,
yeah, and
sure.
I'm talking over you. I don't want to do that. I'm sorry. Make your point first.
All good. Well, yeah, essentially the issue I would have with this, right, is because if you say I haven't watched it but make statements about my coverage, which would end up being inaccurate because you're just going off of vibe space, that would frame it to your audience of what I actually said when I didn't even say it. You could say that you didn't watch it, but you're making sweeping statements about what I talked about when it was just inaccurate.
I don't think I did. I don't think that's really accurate.
Well, you said that I took Remnant at his word completely and only just listened to what he said.
No, I didn't say that. I said that the impression I got was that you took it at its word, which is different.
Which I did have disagreements with him, and I even have it on, and we had a back and forth, whatever, right?
But disagreeing with someone isn't the same as not taking them at their word. Those are two different things.
I think that if I'm disagreeing with someone, that would show that I'm not just blindly just putting whatever, just blindly siding with them just because I'm okay with them or whatever, right?
That's also not what I'm saying. I'm saying, okay, when I say taking them at their word, I mean taking what they say and their reflection of what I'm saying at face value.
Yeah,
so that's in reference. That's mainly in reference to his coverage of my video in terms of what I said. His arguments are different, but again, you're still taking him at his word if you're engaging purely with his argument, and not.
I mean,
kind of comparing that to the thing I originally said.
I mean, wouldn't that just? I mean, I would be taking both of you at your word, right? Like, if I'm here watching your video, seeing what you say, and then I engage with your arguments, would I not be taking you both at your word?
Okay, rephrase that. So if you're watching both of our videos, you're saying?
Yeah. So I watched your video.
Back and forth, if you go back and forth, that's different. Yeah, but again, that's the reality of your stream, not the impression. So that is where things get murky. Because I didn't watch your stream, I can't speak to what you actually said, nor do I say what you actually say. I say the impression I get is that. That's just different.
What would be the point of like saying what vibes you got if you didn't even verify it?
Well, because it's not relevant to my argument. Here's the thing. So here's the problem.
Okay.
Why would I need to watch 3 different streams if I'm not talking about them on the video? I just reference that they exist. That's not remotely the same thing as saying you specifically on this stream said this specific thing here, which is irrelevant. You know, I can't speak to your specific arguments if I haven't watched your stream. I still haven't seen your stream, to be honest with you. So sure. I can't speak to the argument that I'm saying, oh, hey, in this stream, Ace said this specific thing. I can't say that because I haven't watched your video. I can say the vibe I get is this, which is a opinion-based statement. It's not factual. There's no proving or disproving. There's no factual idea there. And I specifically say, hey, I didn't watch them. So right there, the thing you're taking offense to is the perception others might have. Not even the impression. Impression is the right word. The impression of what you are saying. So in that sense, I think the bigger issue is that you need to consider what impression you send to people outside your audience. Well, which I do constantly. I'm constantly confronted with what people think I say, you know, but I just have to deal with that.
Sure. No, sure. But like, I don't know how, even with how the stream is packaged, it's literally just called Remnant versus Anthony Gramuglia. And it has both of you in the thumbnail with a versus. How would the perception be that I'm just going to glaze one side?
Well, the impression can be very well. In that sense, it's because your video came out within a couple of days of his. You know, it's a video that, frankly, shouldn't have really gotten much traction at all. You know, that same weekend, a lot of more bigger stories were happening, but this is the one that you guys all focused on. Well, so the impression is it's some relevant detail that this video was the one you want to respond to.
You made a video, and then he responded to the claims you made about him or the arguments you made, and I went over that package. Yeah.
Yeah, but you responded to the one video, you know, a month after the first one came out. Well, more like 2 months, actually.
I watched both of them.
It kind of begs the question, what value does this response have for anyone else when there's bigger drama going on? You know, people have back and forth. Oh, hang on. Am I still on? My computer entered a screensaver.
You're still on.
Cool. Sorry about that.
Wait.
Yeah. My computer just entered. I don't know what happened. It was weird. I just didn't move my mouse for a while. So the problem here I'm trying to figure out here is this. You're upset that the impression I got from these videos, mind you, impression, nothing based on concrete reality, which I specify in the video.
Hold on.
I'm sorry. I'll make your point. I'm sorry. I feel like we're
just to address something, because you did like specify that why this when there was bigger stuff going on. Isn't the whole point of content creation to make like what interests you?
Yeah. So if that interests you, then there you go.
Yeah. So like I don't really know why that. I don't know. It's like the point that I'm like seeing here is I see that you both, you know, had a little bit of a back and forth. I go over it and I engage with both of your points. I don't understand why that would be met with, oh yeah, no, he just took Remnant at his word.
Again, that's the impression. Again, the problem is I think you're taking what I'm saying a little off there. I'm saying the impression I got of your videos was this, and that's the impression that others can get from that same context based on what I saw. Now, will everyone get that same impression? No, obviously not. But it would be a lie for me to say that's not the impression I got from it. So again, that's the thing. We're not talking about the specifics you said, and this is the easiest point for you to rebut if you have evidence. Otherwise, which I'm sure you do. But you really can't impact the impression someone gets of an idea before it's presented to them. This is, of course, different from making a concrete, specific accusation or allusion to an allegation. That's different. But the impression someone gets from a thumbnail, it's like looking at someone's channel. And let's say, for example, the channel that has like 15, when he was relevant, the pirate software drama, right? Someone can post a screenshot of that and go, well, this guy's fucking obsessed. This is unhealthy behavior. When you and I both know they're just hitting the content mine as much as possible before the algorithm shifts gears. But is that impression that they're obsessed? Is that necessarily a wrong impression? I would say no. That's their impression.
So would you then be fine if I made a video, let's just say you beefing with Blackish, right? And I said, well, the impression that I got was that Anthony struck Blackish's channel. Not that it actually happened. I don't think it happened.
No, because
the impression I did.
No, that's a different conversation there. You're comparing the direct action of someone that has a material impact in a paper trail with the impression of the vibe of something. Those are two different things. One's concrete, the other is not concrete. That's why they're different. Now, if you said, looking at my channel, wow, this guy's a fucking political nerd, or wow, this guy sounds like an asshole. Yeah, that's your impression. That's fine. But that's different from saying this guy did something very specific that had a concrete impact on someone else.
I mean, overall, the framing would just be like, it would make it look like that I'm just sweeping for a side and being biased.
Well, the problem is all these responses come out at the same time. Yeah, there is a side. I mean, I think it would be more dishonest to say there's not a side, which is, again, not necessarily a bad thing. Everyone's allowed to take sides in a matter. But, I think the trick here is that you're looking at it from the perspective of me saying, what you're doing is you're comparing me saying this kind of feels a certain way to you saying this could have happened, a direct specific event. So again, the problem there becomes these aren't really comparable. They're very different scenarios, so I'm getting at. And you're trying to draw a connection between them, but there really isn't a connection between them.
I mean, I don't know. I guess my question would be just so that we could try to understand each other a little bit better.
Yeah. No, I'm good with that.
What would be the utility of saying that impression, I suppose, in the video?
The idea was kind of to focus on another point I make later on, how the drama cycle is so all-consuming. That was what that really leads to. One of the key points in my video that kind of culminates in the conclusion. And again, it's you can make the argument that I don't set the seed strongly enough early on, and that's a fair criticism of the video. But one key element that I wanted to discuss with this video is how drama can kind of suck your soul out, figuratively speaking, because you look at it and you go, wow, this is all consuming. This is what people keep talking about, and it keeps getting suctioned into what ultimately I think is not particularly interesting drama. I never thought anything that I was involved in terms of drama was all that interesting to a discussion. I find it all kind of boring, honestly. So sure. I don't understand why other people would find it interesting.
I guess. I mean, because also just to kind of acknowledge a thing that you said earlier about with sides, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, would you really think it's that unbelievable that I would be willing to engage in both sides to see what arguments that they say without any biases?
Without biases, yes. I think it is unbelievable that anyone would not have biases going into a story. Do I think you can engage with both sides? Yeah, of course. Do I think you'd have no biases? Well, I think everyone has biases, even if they try not to. So I think that full question, yeah, I would find it unbelievable. But if you're asking me, do I think you would engage with both sides? Yeah, I guess. But again, that's a very different statement than saying the impression you get when looking at a thumbnail or looking at a collection of thumbnails, not one specifically, but all at once.
I mean, it just seems kind of like a weird thing to kind of just like do, in my opinion, because it's like, I don't know. It's like, yeah, sure. I acknowledge that it does come out like, maybe a few days after Remnant's thing, but would it not make sense to wait for both sides to make a statement, just go over it then?
Okay, I'm a little uncertain what you're asking. Are you asking that it makes more sense to wait till everyone responds to a story, or versus make posts as each piece of information comes out bit by bit by bit? Is that what you're asking?
Like, I'm not. So what I'll say, right? Obviously, I think someone could do a stream on something and then do an update. Sure, 100%. However, if you make claims, right, would it not make sense to, if I know that he's going to make a response pretty soon, and I know that he's going to like engage with the argument, would it not make sense to wait for that to be out there?
Oh! I see what you're saying. You're responding to when I put my first video out 2 months ago. Is that right? Versus,
Yes.
You know that Remnants can put out a video, so you wait until that second one comes out. Okay, that makes more sense. That's fine, but like, and you're allowed to do that. Obviously, I'm not saying you can't.
Well,
I'm just.
it seems. Sorry.
No, go for it.
It kind of just seems like it when I do that, though, I guess with the impression that you get, it kind of feels like that you not necessarily write me off, but just kind of assume that I'm just taking the other side for waiting for him to engage.
No, I don't think it. No, that's not really what the point of that was. The point of that was more that you're looking for a story that to make a video out of, make a stream out of.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, exactly.
You guys are fighting.
Yeah,
well,
so what's the issue?
Well, the issue is like, I don't know. I just don't really like it comes off to myself, the vibe, the impression that it looks like you're framing me as a sweeper because I waited for his response.
No, I'm not waiting for you as a sweeper. I'm framing you as someone who wants a story, and I think just jumps at the story. The ultimate point of the video was how a lot of drama, people just kind of jump at every new crumb that comes down, right? Which makes sense. That's the way the algorithm works. You got to hit while the iron's hot. If you waited a month before talking about it, no one will give a shit. So, I think the bigger problem is the bigger argument I'm making is that it just seems kind of exhausting. Like, don't you get tired of chasing these stories? Doesn't it get exhausting sometimes?
I guess like people are built for it and some people aren't. That's just what I would say to that, I suppose.
Yeah. I find it exhausting. I talk about fucking movies, man. I criticize like books and people talking about books. My greater arguments are with other people talking about media, which, hey, listen, the great thing about that is you can go back and forth, hammer someone about a point, but you're not like filing through their personal laundry to attack them. It's just, hey, here's your take, here's why I disagree with it, and then both people move on with their lives and make another take later on. It's very different of a mentality. It's more attacking what you not attacking, that's the wrong word, attacking is too strong, criticizing and engaging with the ideas you produce. I think there's nothing more respectful in this world, online with media criticism, than to engage with someone else's ideas thoroughly and really engage with them, not just pick them apart and find the element you like. To really go in and go, okay, hang on, what are they saying? What are they talking about? What's going on? And you disentangle it and you take it seriously enough that it deserves a rebuttal. But that's a different approach to the back and forth. A lot of, and you can vouch, and you know this, I'm not lying when I say this, a lot of reaction content is just watching what someone says and going, yeah, okay, that's what they say. You share your opinion on it. And this goes for myself too. I'm no exception to this. And we take the bits that come out that are posted as at face value. We don't really in real time fact check what we hear sometimes. Not always anyway. Sometimes we do. But it's not like a constant across all reaction content. And that's what that really comes down to. That's the ultimate point, that we kind of hear people say, we engage with that one iteration of the discussion, and then we just move on with our lives for the most part, you know, and don't really go any deeper than that. That's the ultimate point. It's not even really about you specifically. It's a general talking point about how we engage with these ideas collectively. But the problem is that that's more of an idea that I kind of put seeds throughout the video on, and then try to pay off in the end. Did I do a good job at paying off that point? That's debatable. Some people may say yes, some people might say no, and that's life. But that's the ultimate point of that whole discussion. It's not really about you specifically. It's more about the impression this kind of work collectively inspires in the mind when they just see how it all falls together. And of course, you're closer to it, so you're going to have a different takeaway than that. But that's the impression from someone outside that circle.
I mean, I think that culture exists in both niches. Is the only difference I see is like the stakes of what's being talked about.
Differently, I'd say. I think different creators have a different approach to it.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. But for example, right, if we're making so I guess in the drama sphere, we would be talking about people's credibility a lot, right? Mm-hmm. But of course, that does come up a lot in your niche too. I mean, hell, you've obviously talked about grifters, obviously, right?
Yeah.
So that would be, I think, a case of comparison I would see of talking about someone's credibility. You could say maybe it's approached a little bit differently or talked about differently, but I would say that credibility would matter in both niches, yeah.
To an extent, I'd say. I think also with my niche, there's also always the belief that people can regain credibility, So there are times where people who we disagree with in my circle make a good point. They make a good point sometimes, and you got to acknowledge that, because if you didn't, you would be disingenuous. There are times when people who you would normally support make a bad point, and you got to acknowledge that too. I think there is tribalism. If I think we're kind of getting into that whole angle of things, I'm not sure if you are, but there is a kind of tribalism sometimes. But I've done my work to try to disentangle that to an extent. My big video on the what is a grifter thing, for example, that was in response to people, I think, just throwing the word grifter around willy-nilly without really thinking it through. So in that video, I kind of went against a lot of opinions that were popular in my circle with that one. It might not seem that way outside the circle, but there were some points I made there that were kind of pushing against my peers. And my peers saw that and went, you know what? Yeah, you have a good point. Again, my peers, not necessarily the internet at large. I mean, it's not exactly like a 1 million view video, but in that circle, it did change a few minds. So
I guess I just don't really see how that would be much different than the niche I'm in, I suppose, because that's same type of culture happens here too.
Well, in what sense? I think before I respond, I want to get a firm sense of what you're talking about.
I mean, yeah, we talk about people's credibility. We would acknowledge that people that we don't like would have good opinions, or even people that we like would have bad opinions. That just seems like a thing that would happen in any niche, I would think.
Okay, so I guess what I'm going for is, because I kind of brought this up in response to that. Yeah, so it always does. There is that connection, certainly. But I am a little curious, though, because I think we kind of got away from the point there a little bit. How does this tie in specifically with your core argument that the impression of basically your thumbnails, really, or the timing of your videos, how does that impact the reality of the videos?
I would personally have an issue with how it seems to be framing it, like I would be sweeping to, obviously, I acknowledge that you would have a bigger audience, and that would be acknowledged. That would be like framing it to a lot of people that I would sweep for one side. And your point for that is simply because I made a stream a few days after Remnant put his side and engagements to your conversations out there.
I would disagree. That's the impression my audience got. I don't think they really thought much about sweeping. It's more about the echoing. And that's a better way of phrasing it, I think, which is different than sweeping. Kind of what's the word? I'm trying to find the right way of articulating this. Basically, when you react to something, you kind of reiterate what the original person says. That's one reason why reaction content can be really rough in some cases, because you're basically repeating what some other guy is saying to your audience. Even if you have a disagreement, you're still echoing that original video to your audience, even if it is to break it down. I think we've been talking about this topic for a little bit of a while, so I don't want to waste everyone. I don't want to bore everyone to death with this one talking point, but I think it's worth discussing.
Yeah, I'm going to give this, just in case you didn't see, I'm just going to give this 10 minutes, and then we can...
Oh, I don't think we need that much more. What was a big final statement on this one to move on? I apologize for rambling so much on this one. But I think the idea, I think the point is that the impression someone gets of content is not always relevant to what the content actually is. It's about how it's presented. It's about the timing. It's about the articulation. I'll give you a quick example. Recently, around the same time Remnant's response came out, a bunch of comic book YouTubers put out videos about Cyclops from the X-Men. The impression people I saw online got was that these are all the same video, just kind of regurgitated at the same time. Having seen the videos, I can say they're all very different. But the impression that they communicated based on thumbnail, title, timing, totally different. Now, are they wrong for that impression? No, certainly not. It's based on thumbnail art, based on timing, based on titles, based on assumptions you have going in. The content is totally different on all of them. All different angles of the same basic character.
Right. I mean, I think the
impressions are still right. They're not unjustified impressions.
Sure. I mean, I would say, did Yen show the clip at least to their audience first?
I can play that clip.
Yeah.
For you.
Because if we have been talking about it this long, I think it would also be fair to show the audience what we're talking about.
Yeah, go for it.
Moment. I just need to download it because Ace hates me and he wants me to download malicious software.
Want to share screen it too while you're at it, Yen?
Yeah, my stream doesn't break when I do. Huh. Give me 1 second.
I could just share screen it if you want.
Yeah, please.
Would that make it easier, Yen?
It would.
Okay.
Let me close a crap ton of these image tabs then.
Tell me when you guys are in.
Give me un momento. Well, my stream can't see it, so... is it just mainly audio?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, that works. Give me 1 second.
Okay.
All right, do it.
Tell me when you guys are good.
No, you're good. You're good. I can see everything here.
And the Fuji's are great.
And can you see it?
Just give me 1 moment. It's loading in.
Yikes. Tell me when you're in.
Because everything is deciding to crawl to a stop. Okay, we're in.
What you're saying right now is a lie. And you can get away with it because your audience won't watch me. Oddly enough, when this video dropped, multiple commentary channels that Remnant later references in the video all dropped live streams reacting to his video. I didn't watch any, so I can't tell you what they talk about or what's discussed. However, the sentiment I heard from them was that they focused entirely on what Remnant said, taking his word entirely on that matter.
So what do you mean by the sentiment I heard from them if you haven't watched it?
Well, basically I heard people talking about it.
So,
basically your viewers echoing general sentiments of what you guys are talking about.
I mean, how would you know that would be accurate if you didn't check it out yourself, I guess?
It's not accurate. And that's why I specify saying I didn't watch it. And hence why I said general sentiment. Those are statements that immediately show I'm talking about the impression given, not necessarily the facts of what anyone said.
I mean, you essentially said that you heard people say things about the streams, and that's why you got the vibe that you did.
Yes.
I don't.
Where's his thing? Where about that is anything specific about what you said?
Well, you said that I took his word entirely or whatever, right? So it's like...
Well, I said that's the impression based on what I was informed.
Right. So what this is, man, is that you took words of chatters that you didn't even verify yourself. You're saying it's an impression,
yes,
but it is still a comment about like my coverage and credibility here.
It's a response to what your audience has said. Or rather, what I believe your audience said based on what I saw, which again is not specifically saying anything about you specifically. It's saying that's the impression communicated by your video.
Yeah, I mean, that's that's still wild to me because like that seems like a reckless thing to include.
How is it reckless?
I mean, for starters, I would say that there would be like no actual point to do that. And for others thing, I mean, like if I think it would be fair if you were upset if someone, made an allegation about you or say like they heard a rumor about you, right? To be a little bit more comparing to this. I think it would be fair if you were upset that there was rumor spreading about you and that wasn't the case, but that was just their impression that they felt. And
you gotta deal with it, I guess. That's life.
But in this case, it feels like it's an easily avoidable scenario. And this just got plastered onto, again, it looks like you're painting myself as a sweeper who just didn't really engage with your arguments in good faith to your way bigger audience than mine.
And that's the thing I don't understand. Why do you keep saying sweeper? I'm not saying necessarily that you defended him. I'm saying you taking what his arguments are saying.
Well, what do you think that taking someone at their words and face value would, lead someone to believe?
That you responded to what he said specifically. Responded to. The difference there is I think you're thinking that when I'm saying responding, that means I'm saying you agree with it. Those are different statements.
Well, that's what taking someone at face value would imply.
Not
that you're agreeing with someone.
It means that you're listening. No, not necessarily.
Well, provide a scenario where.
Let me explain why that's not the case. Because as I point out in this video, I point out where Remnant lied. Now you can disagree with Remnant's arguments, but unless you specifically illustrated the exact points where he lied or spread misinformation, then you're still engaging with the arguments he presented at face value. Whether you agree with his arguments or don't agree with his arguments is irrelevant because you're still taking his statements where he took things I said, chopped it up and rearranged it or took things out, and you assume that what I said is what he said I said at face value.
I mean, but then obviously that wouldn't be the case because I watched your video. So
yes. Exactly. So, and that's something I would only know if I watched the video itself, which I specified I didn't.
Right.
So then what's your point?
Well, the point is that would just be a thing that just wouldn't be a thing to include because okay, so, right, easily verifiable, easy thing to debunk, right? I also took your word, right? But in this framing, even if it's just vibes-based, would again be like, oh, yeah, no, I'm only just taking what Remnant's saying. I'm only engaging with what he's saying. Not with what you're saying,
right? But again, I feel like I feel like you're addressing a different point here. You're talking about if I specifically was talking about your stream, as in the specific.
You were talking about mine, Dickerson, Hibbleton.
Yes, and I'm talking about the general impression I got based on what people said to me about your streams,
and I guess
based on the presentation of the stream. That's the problem there is that you're going to go in circles. If what we're talking about is the specific contents of your stream, yeah, you can tell me that I'm wrong based on my impression, that my impression is incorrect. I'm glad to hear it. But that's still a different discussion than what I'm talking about.
I still would think that would just be not even worth including. That's just
again
because of what
okay, I'm cutting you off there. I'm so sorry about that. You finish.
Yeah, because. Yeah, like I said, that's just not a thing I would include because then that would be leading your audience to believe that these three coverages, not even just myself, sure, not to even just isolate myself, but sure, that would be leading your audience to believe that we only took Remnant at his word and not yours, which would obviously, when you say taking someone at face value and taking someone's word, which would obviously make it look like that we're just sweeping and blindly defending him.
Yeah, I don't really see the argument there. I'm sorry. I don't really agree with your mindset there. Because I outright said I didn't watch your videos. So there's no way my audience will if my audience takes me at face value, they're saying, hey, you didn't watch it, therefore you're only giving impressions. You're not giving a definite statement of what they actually said. So that's why I don't really follow that. I think that you're looking at it from a different perspective than I am, because I think my audience can recognize I'm saying I did not watch it before anything else. That's the first thing I say, and I make sure I emphasize I didn't see it. And it's so deep in the video to that point that the only people who are watching are the ones paying attention. If I put it up at the 5 minutes in, I think it's 20 minutes into my video. different situation. Yeah, if I said like 5 minutes in, yeah, no, that's a different argument. Then you have a point there where I'm kind of giving an impression that's unfair. And again, it's I emphasize saying, here's the impression I got. I'm not saying
I would only
this is
disagree.
an allegation. Okay, well then you disagree with it.
I would disagree with the part with having, even just with the point of having it farther in your video, then that means they're paying attention. I mean, I feel like that would be giving too much charitability to your own viewers, not saying that they're dumb necessarily, but it's very common for people to even have videos on in just the background. So like, just say that they're only watching that far for paying attention.
So then you're saying that this video is a point they might have just missed entirely and never heard.
I'm saying that they could have missed you saying that I didn't watch it. Sure. I'm saying that they could have just been like, oh, I don't even know who the fuck these 3 people are. So I'm just going to be like, yeah, sure. If they're sweeping, they're sweeping. Well, that would be the problem.
Well, no, I'm saying exactly as in they don't know who you are.
Right. So that means that you have a free mold to frame my character in any way possible because they don't know who I am.
Yeah, but if they don't know who you are, then they don't know who I'm molding. So there you go. Well, so right there, it wouldn't even matter. Well, it wouldn't matter then. If they don't know who you are, they don't know who you are. You're nothing to them. So anything. So even if I theoretically was,
you can say whatever you want about me.
Then they won't know. It would never connect to you. So it will never affect you.
I think that would be a dangerous standard to go down personally.
Well, that's why I usually don't, make general statements about stuff like that. But again, like I think the problem is that you're looking at it from, I think you're taking personal offense to the impression I got of your videos when I'm not talking about what your videos specifically say. I didn't make, if I went into your video and said, oh, in time code, whatever, Ace says this, you didn't say that, it's different. Yeah, that's different.
It'll be a scale severity thing, sure. I'm not saying that there's worse things that could have happened. I just still would disagree with it even at this scale.
Yeah, I don't really agree with your take on that, but I think we've been going back and forth a little bit too long on this one. I think we're talking in circles here. We're both saying the same thing we're saying 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to meet eye to eye on it, to be fair.
Yeah, no. I think I think you guys have expended that point for a bit.
Exhausted that argument, entirely.
Okay, awesome. So I guess we should move on to the next thing. If you have anything else, Ace?
Yeah, of course. Because another thing I do want to talk about.
Anthony, if you do have anything, make sure to.
I really have nothing to really add. I think I'll be honest. I said most of what I needed to say in the original video. I personally do not see much value in like a bird regurgitating old digested food. You know what I'm saying? Like, to me, it's just, I have nothing really strongly to add in any direction.
Awesome. Well, Ace, the floor is yours again.
Yeah, well, because I do definitely have a few things to talk about. Let me grab this. So I'm just going to chat about Blackish for a little bit just to get that one out of the way.
Okay.
So a problem that I have, right, was a claim that you also made. So here is this. I'm going to pull it up so that Yan could even show her chat. And I could read it out real quick.
Let me get this pulled
up.
Here we go.
Yes. So this is going to be a couple things that we're going to disagree on with this, unless you do concede or whatever, right? But right here. Yep. I obviously am biased because he wished for my expiration in one of these vids, and I am one of these thumbnails, but Blackish is pretty generally scummy. I briefly tried to help him at one point, but he insisted YouTube had unfairly removed one of his vids. This turned out to be a vid where he called all VTuber fans pedophiles. Now, we're going to talk about that, but first I'm going to read this. And then you said the irony is, as I would learn, Blackish liked anime characters who charitably looked younger than their age. So his core criticism felt deeply hypocritical. He never forgave me for finding that hypocritical. I have a problem with that. I mean,
what's your problem?
He's responded to this even in his video. This is the whole allegation that Blackish is a lolicon. I do have an issue with that. No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying he's a lolicon. Well, you're saying that, sure, but you're saying that he liked anime characters who charitably looked younger.
Yes, and which is a lot of anime characters.
Sure, but the basis for that was also not even there because he explained
the characters. Right? The character that he was talking about was over the age of, I think, 18 or something like that. But the character specifically looked younger. So it felt a little hypocritical that we're talking about VTuber fans being, pedophiles when, they're fully grown adults who often have various different types of models. Some are very suggestive, obviously, of lolicon, and that's worth criticizing. But a lot of YouTubers just have normal fucking looking models,
Well,
some even anime inspired.
Sure, I do got to ask. Have you actually ever watched the video?
No, I didn't, because it was removed from YouTube. When the video got brought up, I did retweet and try to get YouTube's attention to give it a fair shake, because I firmly believe that everyone deserves a fair shake on YouTube, even people don't like me.
Sure. Well, the reason why I ask that is because in the video, he does specify what he's talking about. He's not talking about VTubers and their fans. He's talking about lolicon VTubers and their fans. And I have had a re-upload of that video. I even went over it in that stream. I don't know if you watched the entirety of that stream where I covered him going against you, but that was the last video I watched in it.
Oh, I'd have to watch that one segment. I'd want to watch that one section in its entirety before responding to your statement specifically there, to make sure I know what I'm talking about beforehand.
I'm trying to
However, that was basically what I understood his video was removed for. Those, for I believe, harassment allegations, I think it was.
Well, he was beefing with a guy named Sean the Legend. And Sean the Legend is an infamous lolicon defender in the community that basically got pretty popular off of defending Tipster for his Vosh defense. I'm not saying obviously you don't have to like the guy Blackish, but with this in this case, he was beefing with a lolicon defender. And as you would probably know, lolicon defenders don't really like to be called pedophiles. So, yeah. That would be the quote unquote harassment in that, which maybe you can make the argument if it is or isn't, sure, whatever.
I would have to watch the video to make sure what you're saying is accurate, but also there would have to be something in the video itself to be worth removing from YouTube. YouTube videos don't just get taken down from mass.
Sure. I think Blackish's style of content.
I've had views that were mass reported and nothing happened to them.
Yeah, and I think that Blackish's style of content could be very edgy and very, you've seen the average Blackish video.
Yeah, I wouldn't use the word edgy. I would use immature is the one I'd go for. Juvenile.
Right. I mean, I don't know if I call it juvenile, but
I would. I would call it juvenile. It reads like a 12-year-old would say after watching Newgrounds cartoons a little too much back when I was in middle school.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that he's like probably a young adult with like, a sense of humor that like, maybe hasn't caught up to his age. You could probably make that argument. But that would be why the video would have been removed, not because of anything else, if anything. But in this, yeah, I mean, even in the lolicon defending spaces, if you call lolicons pedophiles, they do mass report it and saying that you're slandering them. That is a thing that does happen in that niche. I know you're saying that you would need to see the video, but
yeah, because I've said similar things criticizing lolicon in the past, and I didn't have that happen to me. So that's why I'm kind of having. That's why I kind of feel like I need to see the specifics to kind of compare what you're saying to that, because I feel like something's not adding up on this front.
Well, let me see. Because I also find that pretty interesting that so obviously, yeah, you acknowledge not watching the video. Why would you make a claim about it if you haven't watched it?
Echoing what I was told. Now, you make the argument that that's a problem right there.
Well, yeah, that is a problem.
In this situation, I was echoing what I was informed about the video. And what I saw happen firsthand with the character whole thing and that one thing. Now the character thing I did see. Character was older. There was a bunch of fan art in his Discord. But character was of age, nothing wrong, nothing illicit there, but it did feel as hypocritical that you're complaining, from my perspective, of VTuber fans. And mind you, the video I think was titled "All VTuber Fans Are." Wasn't it titled that? Like all VTuber fans are?
Let me look. Yeah, so he doesn't say all, to be very specific here, right? He said VTubers are pedobaiting and it's horrifying. Now, you could have an argument that could sound generalizing. Sure.
Yeah, I think that right there kind of proves my point, doesn't it? If your title is VTubers are all pedophiles, that's the impression you're going to get from it. You know, that's the problem right there. Like,
However,
you can
in the
say,
video, he does
like,
clarify that he's not calling VTubers pedophiles, and he even talked about his favorite VTubers. He specified he was talking about lolicon VTubers, which is why that important piece of context is why it's it's important.
yeah.
To
So what counts
that.
as a lolicon VTuber? That's the question too. If we're saying,
Yeah, so he goes into it.
yeah, but the problem
the
there
ones that would market
becomes, like, are you
themselves,
saying like
right?
Iron Mouse is a lot? We talking like Iron Mouse? We talking like Rev says
No.
Desu? You know, there's a lot of different types of VTubers out there of different ethical backgrounds, and
he does go into this in the video
specify
too.
that. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
he
that's
does go
fair
into that in the video.
that's fair enough.
I think
But
the
I think-
easiest way to determine it is people who would advertise themselves as like lolicon VTubers, and that would be the ones that you would be able to engage in good faith with, right? Like that's essentially like what he was doing. And the reason why I would even have an issue with this, now I know you're saying that you haven't seen it, but when you say something like Blackish liked anime characters who charitably looked younger, and then you say that he never forgave me for finding that hypocritical, in the context of him calling lolicon VTuber fans pedophiles, and you're calling him a hypocrite, that would that would paint the picture to anyone who actually did their due diligence to watch the video that you're calling him a hypocrite because, oh, he likes lolly.
No, I never said he liked the lolly. That's you saying that. I never said once he liked lolly.
Well, you objectively called him a hypocrite for saying that he liked anime characters who charitably looked younger than their age.
I said it felt
called
hypocritical.
VTubers.
I said it felt hypocritical.
Yeah, he never forgave me for finding that.
Yeah, I never called him a hypocrite. I said it felt hypocritical. So it's a difference there. I'm not saying he is. For one, I have never, ever called him a pedophile. Ever. Never even remotely close. I am saying there's a weird contradiction between criticizing VTubers, and again, he did call VTubers that in the title, all of this.
Yeah, but anyone who did their due diligence to watch the video to get the facts straight before making public
the
claims.
video was removed. How many people actually could see the video? It was removed. So it's not like we can just say, hey, watch the video. The video is gone.
Have you ever tried to ask for the video?
Let me ask you this. If you are looking online and you're an average person, are you going to ask for a link to this? If you think you know what the video is about, why would you, if you're not going to really want to engage with the argument beyond that, if you just see the title, you just hear what the video is about, are you really going to ask for a link?
I feel like if you don't, then you shouldn't talk on it publicly.
Well, did he call VTubers in the title of his video pedophiles?
No, he said they're pedo baiting, and it's horrifying.
There you go. So that right there, the pedo baiting, that means the fans are pedophiles. Therefore, what I'm saying is accurate. I'm saying that VTubers are baiting pedophiles, that the VTuber fans are pedophiles, and that's what he's saying they are. So in the title right there, there's no inaccuracies. What I just said. Now, you're making the argument that in the video itself, he specifies, okay, well, then he shouldn't have made the title such an extreme title.
Sure. I mean, that even if that's going to be your argument, that shouldn't take away due diligence from watching it to fact check it.
Yeah, but I'm not exactly making a video response to it. I'm not responding to his specific video. And then again, nothing in that comment is inaccurate.
Can I chime
You're
in?
saying there's more to it, but there's nothing I just said that was inaccurate to what you just described. You're just saying there's more to the video that was removed that I couldn't see because the video was removed.
Because I do have the video.
Okay, well, how would I know that? Until you just told me that, I was under the impression it was just gone.
Right.
So that's the problem right there. Why would I know you have the video? Well, here's the question. Who just assumes you have the video link?
I mean, you could add, he would be the creator of the video. I think that it would be fair to assume that he would have
we don't hang out on the weekends. I don't talk to Blackish.
Well, I mean, like,
and every time we've tried interacting
with the
guy, we haven't really had. Every time we've tried interacting, it's not like we've got off on a point where like, oh yeah, let's hang out, let's talk later. No one.
And so it's like the reason why I'm putting that standard here is because you did expect me, and I've never had contact with you, but before doing my Blackish stream, you did expect me to reach out to get your side. That was a standard that you did put on me.
No, I'm saying you could reach out to get my side.
Yeah, and I'm saying you could reach out to Blackish to get his video.
And I defended his video by saying it deserved a fair review from YouTube. That was my going to his side. To get YouTube to have a fair evaluation of the video to see if it deserved to be taken down or not.
I mean, I get that you defended like the striking, but like you made claims about the coverage.
I wanted to get a fair. Okay, so here's what gets tricky. I'm saying it deserves a fair review from YouTube, and after that fair review, as I perceived it still wasn't reinstated. So that right there tells you something.
I mean, YouTube reviews could also just. I mean, some people just have horrible experiences with those because sometimes they fail, which is why that they have multiple times.
Right, but like, here's the problem. If it's a content strike, not a DMCA strike, but a content strike, and the content is deemed not proper for YouTube to distribute, there are other platforms to put it on. You kind of have to work within the parameters of YouTube if you're uploading a video to YouTube. And it sucks for all of us, and a lot of us push against those parameters to try to get the rules changed in a meaningful fashion. That's a different discussion. You know, there's pushes about when you can say the word fuck in your video, like how many seconds in or whatever. There's content strikes, there's content arguments about whether or not you can show, let's say, video game violence or a movie with violence in it, a clip of it anyway, in a YouTube video. Those are discussions worth having.
I guess like to like not steer too far away, to be fair, I guess a thing I would ask for a clarifying thing. Do you treat the internet like it's your journal or something, or would you care about your credibility when making claims?
I'm sorry, what are you asking exactly?
Do you treat the internet like it would be your journal, or do you care about the credibility that you have?
I just say shit, man.
Well, I mean,
okay.
That's about it. Yeah. Man. There's nothing deeper than that. I just say shit. That's it. But some of the people listen, sometimes they don't. I just say shit.
Can I interject on a little bit on this? I think what it's been for a little bit here, right, is a lot of the criticism has boiled down to, Anthony, you seem to have a tendency of doing stuff as, and I'm being kind of general here based on like the whole conversation so far, being, you look at stuff vibes based, you've gone ahead and taken people at their word when it comes to people telling you that this is what's in this video, right? I think, at least my personal standard, and I think it's the standard of a lot of content creators, and it's expected of audience members, for the creators to actually look at the stuff that they are talking about before they went ahead and make a point. Because that can then be brought up against you, and that can end very badly for you if that is a very dangerous standard to be setting, basically. Where you are basically saying, well, people got the vibes from this video, right? But that's not actually what the content creator is saying of substance within the video. Now, you're saying that from what I'm getting from this, you attribute a value to the impression a video gives to a general audience, right? Now, not everyone is going to come away from a video in a specific way. There can be a vocal minority. There can be people who are already have a hate wagon against a certain creator, right? There is a load of different attributes, which mean that a lot of different people can have a lot of different opinions, depending on like where stuff is sitting with that content creator at any given time, right? The point of it is it leads to a situation where you are basing, I think it's just vibe space, guys. It sounds very, very bad. It comes off extremely bad. But I'll let you.
If I said something is the impression someone got off of a thumbnail or got placed on people talking about the video,
right?
And that's what I'm talking about.
Well,
I'm not saying the video itself. I'm saying it's the impression. Well, that's the thing, isn't it? If you're talking about the impression someone got by looking at something, right? That's fundamentally different than me saying the video itself said this. So you're acting as though me saying that the impression someone got based on the surrounding discussion of a video is this. That's totally different from me saying the video itself said this. Those are two different statements.
Yeah, but those two very commonly, viewers are not going to conflate those. They are going to conflate those quite easily.
Right. So the problem there becomes they're completely different statements. If you're going to argue that, and again, I say this even in my response to you, Ace, and you're kind of back and forth with each other, I do not hold you accountable for saying a certain thing if you offered a counter argument to it. So I find it very hypocritical that you are arguing I am saying something totally different in a different scenario. It feels to me like it's very much rules for thee but not for me kind of stuff here.
Where did I do that, just so that we're on the same page?
Okay, so I'll give you an example. So you were defending previously Remnant, or at least not defending, but like alluding to the whole, well, you can't prove you didn't copyright strike Blackish. You're saying that's not worth responding to. It's probably not worth anything. Yeah, that's fair. But then you're arguing that me saying, hey, I got this impression based on conversation around a video, casually discussing it, that is equivalent to me making some accusation about your video, which it's not. It's saying that's a general vibe I got from your video based on conversation around your video. And again, using the whole thing with the Blio and Slug. Slug said his channel wasn't taken down for the reasons that I thought it was initially. I said, yeah, you're right. Issued a retraction. I said that Blackish had a video that made this accusation. You say no, it didn't, but then you point to the title of the video saying the thing I said it did. So
right, but in the actual contents of the video,
yeah, but it still said it. It still said it though. That's the problem. And the video was taken down. You also say, did you watch the video? I'm like, well, I didn't because the video was taken down. How could I watch it? It's impossible for me to watch it. I don't have any access.
Well, if you ever want to on your own time,
fair enough.
Here's the video.
Fair enough. But again, the problem there is you're asking a lot about minor statements made outside of anything else. I'm not in none of these did anything I say that you prove it to be wrong. Everything I just said, I explained where I got the information from. You're saying, well, yeah, well, this, that, and the other. Like, yeah, there's this, that, and the other, but that doesn't counter what I just said. The only point where you said that, hey, this was wrong, was the point I apologized for the moment information proved me wrong within a very brief time frame. So I don't understand what your point is, because you're talking about these things as though, hey, you said this. Okay, here's where I said that. Here's where I got this from. Here's where I got this from. Here's where I got this from. And I can pinpoint where I got everything from. Whereas you're saying the general impression of it is like, hey, you just have vibesy stuff. Like, well, it's a different argument, man. I'm not saying you said this. I'm saying this was the impression. I'm not saying Blackish never specified his point. I'm saying he made this point at some point.
When you do say, to be fair, that this is your impression, that would be completely a vibes-based thing rather than a talk it out of like logically what happened or out of the
fact. When I say it's my impression on what specific point?
To like anything of it, right? Like if you just say like, this is how I perceived it, this is how I felt about it, like that would be more vibes coded than factually stating what happened.
Not really. It's an opinion. Vibes are different than opinion. Vibes are impressions. Opinions are perspectives that are informed by.
Right. You said that was your impression.
What did I say was my impression specifically?
And we talked about not to relitigate it, but like when we talked about the clip, you said that was the impression. That's why I would say that was vibes. The clip that we had like I think a 15-minute back and forth on.
Are you talking about the clip where I talked about saying the impression I got from discussion around your videos was this?
Right. That would be a vibes thing, right?
Yeah, that's vibes. That's different. But that's also a matter of a greater discussion. The problem is that I didn't specify anything about your video in the discussion. So I just find this kind of, I'll be honest, I think we're talking in circles here. Because I'm saying, here's a specific point I made, and you're arguing, hey, yeah, okay, but what if that specific thing was reinterpreted and was completely taken out of context, and they completely missed the point? Whereas this whole thing started by me discussing with you, hey, you did allege that Blackish echoed this sentiment about my video. You said, yeah, but he's joking. I'm like, yeah, but he still said this specific thing. Now, the difference there, and I'm sure someone's saying in chat, well, what about this thing? The difference there is that Blackish made a concrete, specific claim. And I'm saying, here's an impression. They are not comparable. One is concrete and definitive. One is vague and a general statement that doesn't have any actual anchoring in any specifics. Whereas Blackish said this particular video, this particular guy, here's the particular time code. I know it. Here's the evidence for it, which doesn't prove anything at all whatsoever. It's all gesturing and, as you said himself, kind of shit posting. So that's totally different of a statement. There's just no comparison between anything we're talking about, I think.
I mainly would have an issue because it does feel like kind of like what you said earlier, that you just kind of just say shit, right? I'm not saying you say that for everything.
Oh, I say shit online.
Sure.
Dude.
Sure.
That's what my videos are. I just say things I think.
Right.
And some people like them, some people don't, and yeah, fuck it. Whatever.
Which, there's obviously not going to be an issue if it was like low stakes stuff. But like, I would only start to have an issue with it when it comes to people's credibilities or, you know, people's situations or people's actions. Because then the stakes are not as low as disagreements with art or disagreements with movies. It's talking about the content of people's characters at that point.
Yeah, but
that's why I would be raising such an issue with that.
Right. Here's the problem, though. Every example you've given has either been something where I issued a retraction based on more information coming forward, or stuff that you're really not specifically showing where I lied about you, because I didn't. There's no lies in any of these statements. It's all based on details that I knew at the time. So I just don't see where your issue is here. If your issue is the general concerns people, you know, the impression people may get from your content based on people around you talking, which again does not specify any specific thing that you specifically said, just a general impression of your work, then that's a different discussion, and it's not really about me. So, you know, that's a different discussion. So I don't see why you bring it up to me.
Well, I mean, like, because it would be in your video, and that's kind of like what you echoed to a bigger audience.
Yeah, that's the impression that was communicated by your fan base or people who watched your streams. So, like, that's not my fault.
Would you not? Well, I mean, it would still be on you to do due diligence if you were to talk about it. But the thing I would say is,
due diligence about what? The impression? That's not the same.
No. If you're going to talk about something, I feel like if you wanted to talk about something accurately, then yeah, you would need to see the evidence of it, or like to see what's happening.
Well, here's the thing. What am I saying accurately? What am I talking about? The impression, right? I'm not talking about your videos. I'm not talking about what you said. I'm talking about the impression communicated. I specifically said I didn't watch it. So the problem there becomes, you are saying, you are reacting to what I'm saying as though I said something entirely different. You are not acting as though I said the impression communicated by an audience was this. You are saying that I'm saying you said this, which is a totally different set of words.
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Sure.
Based on the whole thing with impression, with where you're getting your... So when you say an audience's impression, where specifically are you looking for from this impression? Is it from the comment section on the video? Is this people who have talked about it within your community?
A mix of everything. A couple different sources. Online chatter in general, from different sources. I don't take one specific site. I don't really listen to like one specific group because they can have a tendency to like hyper-emphasize the perception of what was said as opposed to what
of course. Said. Well, again, this is why I ask this, because would it, again, I'm just going to go through a few examples. Were you looking at like Ace's comment section?
Yeah, that's one section. I was looking at my comments, his comments,
your section,
comment on Twitter chatter.
Yeah, okay. So, okay, I was just trying to like establish like that for a reason, and obviously to make sure that it's not coming from obviously a bias. Or like a biased perception from like a biased audience. Do you understand what I'm saying?
No. That would be inaccurate. And plus, my audience doesn't really watch your stuff, so that'd be really. So what would be secondhand accounts of what happened, which is not
the issue with obviously the reason why I say there's an issue with it coming from like mainly your audience, right? And this is nothing against your audience, right? I think a lot of people's audiences have kind of like a natural reaction to defend someone that they are a fan of. Like that's happened with me, with everyone, right? And that's not like specifically 100%. A fault towards your chatters. That's just a general thing that can happen, right?
No. Nor would I assume it is.
That's why I asked that specifying question. But
it's a good point. No, and I will say this too. It's dangerous for someone to get so high on their own fumes they won't listen to their own audience. That's dangerous. Of course. Which is why I never do that. I think my audience is great. I think a lot of them do go out of their way to be more well informed about topics, and they do want to hear all perspectives on things. I would say so. based on my impression of my audience. However, you can never take that fully. You always have to kind of step outside of that to get a real perception of what the average person thinks. And of course, the average person, what they really think is they don't give a shit. That's the real average opinion. That all this back and forth ultimately doesn't really matter all that much. That people really don't care or remember any of it after 5 seconds.
Which is kind of why I feel like that's kind of why I feel like the most value you can glean from it is not from an audience perception, but from actually watching the video. But again, that's kind of like that I'm not going to go too like far in that because I feel like that would be looping it again.
Is the problem?
But the issue is like the reason why that's important in this context is because when it comes to the criticisms that Ace is bringing up towards you, right? It's taking the opinion from a audience or a perception that's being reached that's not from your own because you haven't seen the video.
Yeah, but my video is not about Ace's stream.
Well, it
just references it.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that, but again, I guess that's where standards change, I guess, in terms of like, personally as a content creator, when I'm talking about anything, I like to be able to source information and actually talk about something accurately and make sure that the information is correct.
So here's the question with all that. What actually is the point I made? It's not about what the video actually said. So there is no accurate statement because it's not really about, there's no accurate statement, but there's no specific point being made about the specific video. So you really can't be accurate about the video when it's not about the video. You know what I'm saying? We're talking about two different things. So I think you're applying a different set of rules to what is ultimately just glancing at, putting a finger to the pulse, seeing what's going on there, not about what's specifically said. We're not looking at what makes the blood flow through the veins. We're just seeing what the pulse is at the moment, which is a totally different discussion.
Yeah, which is why I think that I think that's why an aspect of that is dangerous, because it leads to a point of like you are opening yourself up for incorrect information from a perception.
Right, but what's incorrect about the perspective? You know, we're talking, again, the problem is we're talking about two different things. That's what it comes down to. We're talking about two different types of discussions.
Oh, I guess I didn't establish like what I'm trying to say with that clearly enough. What I mean is I wouldn't drag from an audience's perception in the slightest, but that's my personal view, and I guess that's where we differ.
Okay, but that's again a different discussion. Yeah, that's the problem. I feel like we're talking around each other here about two different topics. I don't think we're in disagreement that an accurate discussion of a specific video would require a deep analysis of it. But that's a different discussion. The problem is we're talking about the impressions of a video versus what the video says. And my video is saying a different thing. So when you look at it through that lens, there are two different discussions with two different points and two different whole focuses. So I don't think it's effective to go in circles discussing what one structure of argument would say versus what another structure of argument would say when they're two very different trains of thought, two different very directions of logic that are just not comparable. They're not compatible, these two discussions, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's like if you took a survey asking how many people thought the world was flat versus a discussion of the physics behind it. You know, impression is different than reality.
There would be a difference here, though, in this case, because again, if you are going off of just what chatters are saying, and with the wording, I know we disagreed on the semantical wording of it, but yeah, I would think that most people, when they hear taking someone at face value, would mean that they're trusting what they say.
That's not whatever. Okay, I think again we're talking in circles. You're using a different interpretation of the language than I would say. I think you're assuming face value means agreeing with them. That's not what that word means. But okay, it just means that you're taking what they say and you're assuming they're not lying. This is what it is. You know, when you say taking someone at face value, it usually means okay, I believe that you believe what you're saying. You know, that's what usually means, which is different than saying you agree with them.
Yeah, but you're saying I only did that for like one party, or like that was your impression was the chatters were saying that I only did that for one party.
The impression was you took the words at face value. Yes.
Yeah, which would frame my coverage as bias and not even fair.
Obviously, you're biased. Everyone's fucking biased.
Right, but like that would make it seem like I didn't even engage in your arguments in good faith.
That's not what that means either. Okay. I feel like you're taking a perspective of what I'm saying and you're kind of taking it in its own all that it means is that when Remnant said something, you didn't doubt what Remnant said was true. Let me phrase that. It means that when Remnant said something, you didn't doubt that what he was saying was what he believed to be true.
Yeah, that would be basic good faith.
Yeah, that's all it means. That doesn't mean you're sweeping. It doesn't mean that you're believe he's right. It doesn't mean you are agreeing with him. It just means that you think that he believes what he's saying to be truthful. That's all that means. Everything else is not what taking them at face value means in this context. So we all in agreement on that. You follow what I'm saying? Because I feel like I'm having to repeat myself based on what I think is straightforward, but I guess it's not clear. Which I guess a failure of communication on my part, I suppose. But like that, I don't think. Yeah, I don't think you're seeing quite eye with what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I don't think we are going to. We've looped that like almost 20 minutes now.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think that considering that, we'll move on to the next thing. I'm aware of the time, so.
Yeah, it's getting a little late on my end, but I can keep going for a little bit.
Okay, awesome.
Okay.
Not too much more. I take you for sun.
Of course, I'm aware of that. This is why I'm, I don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't want to leave stuff open.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
Okay, so moving on to the next point. Let's do it. Utterly Noah. I know that you've definitely talked about that
extensively, multiple times. So
my issue with you specifically, not for like what Utterly Noah specifically did, it's what you did specifically.
Okay.
Would be your DM leaks.
Okay, now, what about them?
So here's one specific. Let me grab it real quick. I have a huge issue with. Okay. Let me grab it. This one.
Let me grab mine as well so I can cross-reference here.
So this one was shown on Beckett's stream.
Okay.
So you say here, okay, initial recommendation. You got to say you were accused of plagiarism, then transition into the topic being not citing sources. I have a huge issue with that because I know you were actively engaging with the conversations in Utterly Noah's stream for at least a couple hours. And I know that you would at least have basic context for like what happened. And my issue with this is the situation was never about failing to cite the correct source. The issue was that he took the content from Shamu and made it his own. So this looks like blatant reframing of history in SDMs.
You do realize that not citing a source is plagiarism, right?
Yes, but when you say being not citing sources, when you say it like that, you make it seem like that he just fucked up with the citing a source.
Okay, here's a question for you. Did you read the rest of the DMs of this section?
Yeah, I mean, I read them on stream.
Okay.
And
so then you saw the part where I said bring the entire second half of the apology forward so you hear the explanation of what went wrong first, right? That second half of the apology was where he listed a lot of the evidence. My ultimate point was to take the information in the second half where he listed all the discussions about all the specific things he did wrong, bring it forward so it wasn't hidden. That initial topic point of discussing the plagiarism and then transitioning into specific examples of plagiarism is part of that greater point. The problem is with the DMs is that I was kind of formulating that thought live in text. But the ultimate point here is that the initial apology completely hid that Noah did anything wrong. And so my core point was to say, hey, start by saying what people are saying you did, give examples of what you did, and then apologize for it so that you're not hiding or concealing the bullshit. So the big issue here is that people started going, oh, you're trying to hide it, you're trying to suppress it. Not even close. Because I basically right after that, I say things like your structure of this is not lined right. You jump way too quickly into the wrong examples rather than discuss the legitimate feedback. Save the incorrect stuff and corrections till the end. You need to spend the first chunk of the video addressing legitimate criticism to discuss the flaws therein. In addition, you're saying okay, that's not relevant. I would recommend rearranging some points to center most of the conversation about legitimate information before clearing up misconceptions later on. That also said, focus way less on why it happened and more on what you're doing to avoid it reoccurring. So that right there tells you that I told him, hey, start your apology by actually admitting what you did wrong. That includes not citing sources, but it is not limited to not citing sources. That is one example of the greater whole. But he already wrote the other stuff already, which is why I'm not telling you, read this, add this, add this. As I perceived it, he had already mentioned it in the apology. It just needs to be earlier in the script. And again, these comments are just about the script writing, not about what you should do otherwise. People said I was sweeping for Noah, or trying to, not even sweeping, that's not true. They try to say I was covering up what he did, which is incorrect. Hours after his initial stream, I was telling my audience that Noah plagiarized, that I believed to be plagiarism. I spoke to him in political terms, saying, hey, here's what you're accused of, but make no mistake, I was saying he was accused of plagiarism. When you're talking to someone who's accused of that and you want to make sure they have a good apology, you try to frame things in a way that you think will best benefit them so they can actually take a good step forward and improve. Because I believed he could improve. Now, that was the part I was wrong about. He could not improve at all. Hell, I didn't even see the depths of how bad he can get. But I believed he could.
Yeah, I mean, like, I feel like, and I'm not trying to, like, just play this whole retrospective looking back at it, but the guy quite literally false accused people of doxing him, false accused someone of being a pedophile, which was never really talked about in the stream, like the pedophile thing was. And the thing was, well, I didn't come on here to talk about plagiarism. The guy, I felt like it's just.
I'm sorry, what are you talking about here?
So I'm just bringing up just like a refresher with it.
No, refresher of what specifically? I feel like we're jumping into
utterly Noah's topic. Like utterly
Noah's apology or the stream he did the day of on the 27th of June of January.
The stream that he had with Dickers, Shemu.
Okay,
Rao,
so the January 27th stream. Okay, cool. I want to make sure I'm on the same track because I was still thinking we're talking about the apology. That's why I was a little thrown off there.
No. So yeah, no, like I genuinely, just looking back at it, just looked like he was just completely a lost cause. I mean, even in that same stream, he doubled down after everyone left and was saying that he was gaslit. So, like, I don't know. Like,
at that point, I had to prep my own stuff. I only watched up until the end of like what was it after the one Rittenhouse video. I stopped watching kind of after that. And sure, not exactly after that, but shortly after that. So if he was saying he was gaslit, I missed that part because I was sitting up for dinner, prepping my own stream where I outright said he plagiarized. You know.
Yeah, that happened right after everyone left.
Okay, I didn't see that part.
If you missed that, then fair enough.
Yeah, I had my own stream and dinner to cook for my spouse at home, so I couldn't exactly I couldn't sit around watching YouTube videos when having to cook something good, hopefully. But yeah, so but again, less than 2 hours later on my stream, I was talking about how he plagiarized. I said, well, actually, I think at first I was saying, at best it's a mistake, at worst it's plagiarism. I want to emphasize that it is, but I want to emphasize, hey, this is plagiarism. I wanted to wait till more information came forward before definitively saying it, but I still said this is serious and should not be dropped lightly. Then Noah approached me to review his apology script. I said yes, and I felt that him coming to me was a sign he wanted to improve. And I took
he wanted you to protect him.
In hindsight, it's obviously that. But at the time, I wanted to think the best of him. I wanted to think, no, he's a good guy. I was convinced he was a good guy. And I convinced myself of that fact. And so I approached the apology going, okay, this is a guy who made a mistake maybe. Maybe he wants to improve. And clearly he didn't. So he got that going for it.
It just feels like with how I like looking at the screenshot and like how I saw this thing goes down, because I covered it like I think a couple of weeks ago, it really, really looks like you were protecting him.
Really? So then the question becomes, why then would I outright say it publicly that he plagiarized?
Why would you outright say it? Because I think that he was a sinking ship that was
before
obviously.
This.
Oh, I mean, like. Yeah, I think, well, like you said that it could have been a mistake or it could have been like plagiarism, right?
Yeah, I'm paraphrasing based off of memory. I could have phrased it slightly different, but I definitely know for a fact I said on that stream on January 27th that he died. That you have to consider he plagiarized. You know, that's a definite consideration. And I said that he was making a lot of mistakes, PR mistakes too. I felt the entire concept of the stream was idiotic. The whole thing was stupid. Like why even if you're correct, why bring all of the people accusing you of something on a stream to discuss something live publicly? What type of egotistical showboating is that?
Yeah, I don't disagree.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that would just be like my main issue. Like that's like it did feel like, because obviously you weren't obviously unaware of anything. Like, you know, there was you obviously were engaging with the conversations. If you were just saying what's going on in the chat, obviously, you know, whatever. But I would say that it's fair to say that you had basic context.
At what point are you saying I knew anything?
So I would say that you were aware of him accusing Shamu and Nicandros of doxing him.
I was aware. No,
well,
I didn't. No, I was saying I became that's different. I asked to become a mod in this chat because someone in chat was doxing him. I saw random users in chat doxing him. That's the only person I saw who was doxing him.
There was a moment where some guy named like Falgi even came in the chat saying Noah addressed the false. Address Falgi. He said like address false accusing someone of being a pedophile and false accusing people of being doxers. And the thing that you said was like, hold on, let me try to find it exactly.
Yeah, let's see the context here because I want to make sure I know what you're talking about because I have no idea what you're referencing as in me. Okay, let's keep on with it.
Fuck, where is it? You said something like that's not what we're talking about right now, like something to that effect.
Yeah, to keep it on pace because this entire conversation was spiraling out of control. Everyone was rambling about the most random stuff when it should have been focused on the specific allegations. It was the entire conversation was out of control. There was no focus in anything.
So are you claiming that you were unaware about him false accusing Shamu and Nicandros of doxing him?
Oh, that the first I heard about was on that stream, people talking about it.
Sure.
Yeah. All I knew was that people in chat were doxing him. I became a mod because he was being doxed in chat. If Noah was flailing and accusing other people at random about it, then it was white noise to me. I was focusing primarily on the accusation of plagiarism. I didn't even mention it on stream because I guess it didn't stick in memory. The thing also is that things that stand out in hindsight or specifically things you might notice, you might just overlook it entirely, even if you're there. So I don't remember that specific aspect of it. I remember the plagiarism aspect of it. I remember him copying the same points from that one video, just verbatim. I remember him taking details without crediting them, without using a cited source. I remember him taking visuals and editing whole clips of editing without crediting the original source and just appropriating it for his own. The entire focus, the entire point of it, that stands out to memory of that initial stream.
Yeah, that was the main conversation of the stream because they did start off with him false accusing Morale being a pedophile. And he said that he actually only ran off it by just reading the title, apparently, and accusing him of that. And he got flamed for that.
There you go.
Which, yeah, I would say that that would be definitely a reason why I don't think you should run with a video by only just reading the title and making claims of it, because it could be wrong with what the coverage was about.
Which video was he talking about?
So there was this video is not up anymore, but it was a channel that was called Wanted in 6 States, and they were calling Morale like a pedophile.
So he took someone else's accusations at face value.
Yes, and started spreading it in his server.
In his server.
Yes, and it reached even public. Breach containment on Twitter.
How did we breach containment? Who's posting it?
Noah. Noah made the claim that Morale was a pedophile.
So Noah posted the claim specifically. Okay.
So yeah, he read the title, completely believed it without watching the video, and started running around everywhere to say that it was true. And then when he got pressed on it, he got grilled alive for it.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, how close were you to this guy, I guess?
Well, that's a good question. Clearly not as close as I thought initially. I thought that, he was a peer, a colleague. We would just talk about shit sometimes, but mostly he would ask me about projects he was working on, and he'd ask for help on them, feedback on it, whatever. To be honest, he mainly talked a lot in my server, but I don't really talk a lot in my server. I just kind of like sit back and let things. I feel there's spaces that I shouldn't really like put too much of my personal stamp on, and I feel like even my own Discord, it's like, okay, you guys are here to congregate. I'll pop in on occasion. He was very, very social in those circles, but to be honest with you, I really couldn't tell you anything about the guy. I didn't even know his age. Didn't know what he looked like until someone else posted the photos of it. Until he streamed, I think, actually, now I think about it.
Were you ever in his server by any chance?
What's up?
Were you ever in his server by any chance?
Never once.
Never?
I never logged on there, no.
Okay.
I don't even think he ever invited me, actually, to come think about it. He was on my server, but, he would mainly just yap about like whatever movie was coming out that weekend. That's about it.
Right. So would you say that you might have felt like the need to help him because he was a friend of yours?
No, I felt like, I felt like the need to help him was because he asked me for help. That's really what it comes down to. He asked me for help. And I felt, well, if he's asked me for help, I can't just say no. I feel obligated to help people who ask me for assistance. Whatever it might be. And so I decided to give some help. The help I gave him became less and less passionate as I actually saw what he was working on. And the issues therein very, very much became like surface level, kind of like, okay, come on, just do this shit, whatever. But
fair enough. So. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Trying to think.
So there you go.
Okay. Trying to think, because I would still personally believe what I said. But yeah.
You know what? Listen, I don't expect to change your mind on anything. I never did to go in here. You had questions, I answered them. I figured, it would be unfair of me not to let you ask them. I never expected to change your mind on any of these points, quite frankly. Nor did I really expect you to change my mind either. But you know what? That's conversation for you. It doesn't always you don't always need to change anyone's mind, but at least you know where I'm coming from. You can think it's bullshit or not, but that's life.
I guess, like, just as a different thing too, it's a little unrelated to this, but I'm pretty curious about it. So this does have to do with Psy.
Oh God, Psy. Yeah, I'll gladly tell you anything about Psy.
So were you aware of what was in her server?
I was in her server, but more like a lurker. Her entire server has been like freaking combed over by this point, so it's no secret I was there. But mainly I would just show up for the Lily Orchard news to see if there was anything relevant there that was important to me, because that was especially on the time when she had copyright struck me. So it was kind of, and there was still relevant topics. So I'd pop my head in, look around, and then leave. I honestly would just scroll past almost everything in the server. If something, there've been a few times where I was like on the server days the controversial posts were posted, I didn't see them. I scrolled right past them. I'm very bad with Discord, so I'll just show up at the end of the day and go, hey, what happened? Anything good? No? Cool. Bye. And then leave. So that was my whole thing there. But yeah, there was weird shit on that server, and it's gotten weirder since I'd left. But I couldn't say I was really ever involved with any of the weird shit that happened there. I didn't even know what happened until other people pointed it out.
Yeah, I mean, like, there was, like, it kind of evolved. There was leaks that in the general chat that there was sexual conversations happening in 13 plus areas, and it was not just Yandere Dove jokes; it was worse.
I'm aware. I've seen the screen caps. Yeah. Again, wasn't involved. Didn't see him until after the fact.
Yeah, because the reason why I ask is because I couldn't help but notice this tweet here, where you say, also one small note, One reason I didn't criticize Psy sooner is because I didn't want to give that intestinal parasite Lyo Convoy any ammunition to attack Psy or the members of her Discord, considering those two have been arguing for 3 months straight.
Yes, they've been arguing for 3 months straight at that point. It was ridiculous.
Now, this kind of just makes me feel like, because my perception of you is that you do a lot of team sports, in my opinion.
That's your opinion.
But here I feel like it kind of cements it by saying you wouldn't criticize someone because it would give the other side ammunition.
Yeah, that has nothing to do with their server.
Sure.
Those are nothing to do with the server. My criticisms are entirely interpersonal. It's entirely my criticisms that I was referencing there were entirely just interactions with Psy that I've publicly talked about since then.
Sure. Have you ever talked about the server? I guess I've not really watched.
Not really.
Stuff.
There's not much for me to say. I didn't have much to say there. I kind of just showed up, asked what was going on. Nothing happened. I left. You know, I was being involved in conversations that directly involved me. But I never really cared beyond that because I don't really use Discord servers like that. I just kind of pop in, see what's going on. The instant I pop on there, if nothing's immediately interesting, I just go to another server and leave it. You know, I don't like leave the server. I just kind of click off and go somewhere else. So I never really interact with any of those conversations.
So I guess, like, what criticisms were you referring to about Psy here in this tweet?
Well, okay, so there were personal arguments that happened between me and other collaborators of mine and friends of mine that Psy was being a real jackass to people who I was much closer to. And I tried mediating that jackassery. Mediating because I didn't want to, I figured, I can get everyone to see eye to eye on. And Psy was just not having it. She was being extremely unpleasant, extremely uncharitable, extremely rude to people who she knew I was friends with. The specifics are not important. It's personal. She was very critical towards people who I felt were extremely vulnerable in very personalized ways. And I felt upset by that. That's the gist of it. There's a bunch of several smaller things that I've discussed elsewhere more explicitly.
So I guess it was private interpersonal stuff that you're publicly talking about in this tweet, I guess, or alluding to, I suppose.
Yeah. And again, a lot of it I've discussed publicly since, with specific creators, and I could go into a very long diatribe about it, but I've already done that, so I feel it's kind of redundant. The gist is that she was extremely rude to people who I liked, and extremely rude to people who I felt didn't have a platform to defend themselves, or at least not a strong one, in ways that was very highly personalized and highly detailed. You can, for example, you were criticizing me before for vaguely saying that the vibe I got off your video was this. That's not what I'm saying she did. I'm saying that she specifically went through bit by bit by bit of their work and used it to target them in ways that were just, harassment. So that was my issue. I felt, why are you doing this? That you're treating a difference of media opinion, a difference of specific thought, as though they just ran over a dog, and you're treating them as abhorrent like that. And it became very clear that Psy just took any petty disagreement very personally and couldn't separate herself from whatever initial pang of disagreement she felt. Like, for example, if we're talking about a movie or some shit like that, I'm not going to fucking take any of that with me beyond the discussion itself. No, there's no emotional pain if you disagree with me. Fuck it, who cares? But with Psy, she took it very personally, and she treated it like a moral failing, and felt like she had a crusade to attack them. And that was where the big issue was. So ultimately,
I guess because I do remember some stuff. I guess you could say that obviously I could be good faith and say that you were probably not active in the server. Sure. Not just the fact that you're in
I'd say it wasn't active. I said it wasn't involved with anything beyond the initial thing I'm talking about in that instance. There's tons of posts for me in that server, but most of them are directly involved with a specific topic that's happening at that exact instance.
Right. So I guess I would ask, because I know Lyo kept bringing it up against you as well, and the whole crew. And this was I think a tweet where you even talk about that.
Yes. I kept seeing
did he kept bringing up? Did he kept bringing it up before your fallout with Psy or after? I suppose would be a good question to ask.
I don't remember. I think after, but I'll be honest with you, I don't really pay much attention to what he's saying. So I couldn't really tell you. I could have been tagged in it, and I would have probably just read it and then moved on with my life without absorbing it.
All right. I mean, fair enough. I mean, yeah. I guess if your argument, if it did happen before, if you just said that you didn't even take it in or just didn't really believe him, then fair enough.
Yeah, I didn't take him
Can't really
seriously.
change that.
I'll be perfectly honest. I don't take much of what he says seriously.
Mm-hmm. I mean, in this case, he ended up being right about it, though, so that's unfortunate, I guess.
Well, that doesn't change how I took it. Oh, how I took his took the
No, I know
source.
it doesn't change how you took it, but
Yeah,
I mean,
and again, you're not going to see me defend Cy Scribbles in this discussion.
sure. I don't
Because
expect you to.
I think that she's continued to dig a deeper hole for herself in ways that are, I think, self-destructive ultimately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't disagree with that analysis.
Yeah, and I think it's depressed. I think it's a shame. You know, I find it more sad. Same with Noah. I find it sad. It's frustrating and disappointing and awful, but it's also really sad that they don't see the fact that not just imploding their entire reputations online, but they're just dragging everyone around them deeper down with them. They're hurting people, you know, and that's fucking depressing. There's no, I don't take any joy in criticizing anyone involved in that.
Yeah. No, I get that. I mean,
yeah, there's nothing good. There's a use to criticizing some people, but I don't find much value in that. All right. Is there any last final questions you guys have? Because I do have to. It is getting around the time I should put my son to bed. So,
I mean, Yen, is there anything on your end?
No closing statements.
Yeah, I mean, if there's anything you want to say before you leave, Anthony, I think I'll be able to let you go first.
No, and I want to emphasize this: that you have your fair perspectives, and that's all well and good. I don't expect you to change any of those, but you know, what are you going to do? That's just life, sadly. But you know, don't hesitate to ask anything else. You know, this is a pleasant conversation. Nothing too. I didn't find anything too particularly intense. I just find you took a lot of focus on specific key bits, but I feel like that makes sense pertaining to you. So you know, of course it would. Of course, you would find some issue with that. Well, not some issue. That's the wrong way. Of course, you have some concerns about that.
Yeah, I think overall, my personal assessment after our conversation is that I think that you and I kind of operate differently on the internet with standards. Not saying that you don't ever take credibility into account, but I guess I try to be a bit more careful, and sometimes there's not too much wrong with it if you're talking about media reviews, but it seems like you would have a little bit less care about it, I suppose.
Well, it's a good thing on a drama channel, then, isn't it?
Yeah, I think you would probably be shredded alive, to be honest, if you were.
Yeah, that's why I don't do it. Yeah, that's why I don't like drama. So there you go.
But yeah, no.
Awesome.
I think that concludes all my talking points I had at the moment. I would definitely. I'm always open to chat in the future if something else ever comes up.
Certainly.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad we all had this discussion. I do want to thank both of you for coming on, especially Ant as well. I'm aware that you have a child. I can't imagine the scheduling was the best, but I do appreciate you for staying longer than I thought you would.
No, definitely. Although I might overstay my welcome because now I have to actually do some. There is a pungent smell downstairs, and I'm reasonably confident that's something I have to clean up. So I will be seeing all of you another time. Take care, everyone.
Awesome. I'll take care.
All right.
Take care.
All right.
Awesome.
Well,
that was interesting.
Hey guys. What's up, everybody?
Awesome. How do you think it went, Ace?
To be honest, like, I don't think it went bad, personally. I think that there was it felt like there was a lot of culture clash with standards.
I think that's just a general. I think there might just be a literal thing of like. I think a lot of people, especially from the commentary side, have a very different standard when it comes to where we're sourcing stuff from. And as you know, when people normally say vibes based, That raises quite a few red flags, especially in commentary.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, well, that's kind of like why I got to a point where I just asked if like you use the internet like a journal.
Yeah,
Because
that's fair.
I felt like with the pattern of how the conversations are going, that's just kind
Awesome.
of how it feels.
Yeah. Well then, I am probably going to let you go. I am going to quickly read out the rest of the super chats and talk to my chat for a bit, but I do appreciate you very much for coming on. I know it was a very long conversation, and that goes for Ant as well if he's still watching. But yes, I will speak to you later, okay, buddy?
All right, speak to you later.
Speak to you later.
Bye.
Get the fuck out. Anyways. Well, guys, that was AceSpace versus Anthony Gramuglia. Now it's your guys' turn to decide. One's in the chat if you think Anthony Gramuglia won. Two's in the chat if you think AceSpace won. And three's in the chat if you think I won. And four if you think chat won. And whilst you guys are doing that, I am going to read some donations. But I do appreciate all you guys for sticking out. I think it was a very interesting conversation, to say the least. I didn't really say too much on that because, well, it was meant to be AceSpace versus Ant, okay? I wanted to try and keep it that way. Obviously, I have my own different opinions. I kind of like buckled a little bit. I did kind of want to have a few things I wanted to say, so I do apologize a little bit for that, okay? But I'm going to read out some stuff, okay? Let me try and get to where I was before I stop reading stuff. Okay. Thank you very much, Digital Sketch, for being a member for 6 months. Poor Ace, so true. Thank you very much, Damn Magical Raccoon, for the $2. So now kiss them gays, I mean, guys. True. True. I mean, they can't really. Pride Month's over. Thank you very much, Sneakster, for the $2. It's two gay nerds fighting. There's a lot of yaoi discussion in the chat tonight. I definitely have noticed that. Thank you very much, Ballistic B, for being a member for 2 months. I'm literally shaking right now. Please stop shaking. If you're cold, wear a blanket. Thank you again, Da Magical Raccoon, for the $5. Granola not gonna own anything because it will prove he's wrong. Oh, you meant Anthony. In something, and apparently he's never wrong, and he's doing exactly the same, spreading misinformation, I guess is what that's meant to say. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Little Sketch, for the $2. Donate to Yen's computer fund. So true, so true. Guys, you've been exceedingly generous tonight. I really do appreciate it. Thank you very much, Sneakster, for the $2. Just make out already, dudes. Again, a lot of wanted yaoi in the chat. Thank you very much, Francis, for the $5. Does Ant live in a world of delusion? Gulp. Thank you very much, Mac with some cheese, for the $2. And please be concise and don't talk over A's. I think it was just I think it mainly gave that perception because Ant seems to like to be very how do I word this? He likes to talk, okay? He likes to talk. We all like to talk, okay? Some more than others. Thank you very much, Francis, again for the $5. Can we get a W for women in the chat? For women chat, so true. Thank you very much, K-Huck, for the $20. That's exceedingly generous of you. Yen. Thank you very much, K-Huck. Thank you very much for the $2. Lord Kingler. Pro tip, Ant, watch content then speak. Well, that is my opinion as well. I do agree with that. Thank you very much, Kinoflex, for the $2. And why did you say I defended Noah more than you? I'm sorry, I should have probably brought that up. But thank you very much for donating, Kino. I do appreciate that. Thank you very much, Axis, for the $5. He has no credibility, as he said he just says shit. Interesting. Thank you very much, Pinker, for the 10 Canadian dollars. We love Yen, and I love you, platonically, and in a weird online way. Okay. Awesome. Guys, I do want to thank you all very much for showing up, okay? I do appreciate it. I want to thank you guys for behaving for the most part. Let's have a look at those numbers. I can't even remember what I said. We got a lot of twos. Oh yeah, I remember now. 2, 4, 4, 4, 2, 2, 4, 3. 3. So I believe that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. I believe that I won. I believe that's the consensus that I came to. So according to chat, I won the debate. I am just that good, okay? I'm clearly that good. But no, I think it was an overall great discussion. I'm aware that we didn't go on for very long, but of course Anthony does have a child. But yes, chat, I am going to raid you guys out, okay? I'm not sure what I'm going to cover next time. Well, I'll definitely have to see. I believe there's some more stuff coming out in the future. Again, I've got my videos that I need to work on. I've got a move, actually. I've got a move coming in about, what, 5-7 days, something like that. But guys, I do appreciate you all for donating, all of you subscribing, liking, all the support, and overall just being here. It makes me feel all warm and fuzzy inside. I forgot, I do owe you guys stuff, okay? I am probably gonna play this, but I'm gonna set up where I'm gonna send you guys, so don't go anywhere, okay? Let's see who's alive. But yes, chat. Thank you very much for stopping by. Let's see. Awesome stuff. I will raid you into Dickers. I'm gonna raid you into Dickers. Okay, guys? Go say hello to Dickers from me, okay? And make sure to take care of yourselves, okay? Bye-bye, chat. I'll see you next time.